So in this video, we're going to talk about ownership, and we're going to explore it through the lens of an ancient Israel king named Joash. Don't turn the video off just yet. It is a fascinating story, but more than that, I want to talk about how you don't blow it with the hand that you have been dealt in this life. Stick around. Well, hey everyone, I was born in the great state of Wisconsin, cheeseheads, cows, and the Green Bay Packers. And so I was a massive Packer fan growing up. And in 1998, their biggest rival, the Minnesota Vikings, had the best kicker of the entire, I think NFL, or at least that season on their team. His name was Gary Anderson. And that year, the Packers' rival, the Minnesota Vikings, they were having their year. It was Randy Moss's rookie season, Chris Carter, Randall Cunningham, and they were amazing. They were 15-1. They were the odds-on favorite to win the whole thing. And don't forget, they had the best kicker in the league. And so because my dad, not born in Wisconsin and now living in Wisconsin, he hated everything the Green Bay Packers, which I get. When you're there, it's kind of lame. But here's the reality. The Minnesota Vikings were in the NFC Championship game against the Atlanta Falcons. Jamal Anderson, Chris Chandler, and all those guys. The Dirty Bird, if you remember that, probably not. But here it comes down to a last-minute field goal kick by the most accurate kicker of the season, perhaps even in NFL history, Gary Anderson, the one-barred bandit. And he gets up, and what does he do? He misses it. And I was obviously not cheering for the Vikings because I'm a Packer fan, and so I, as a mature third grader, jump up, point my finger in my dad's face, and laugh and say, ha ha ha, the Falcons are going to the Super Bowl. I didn't care about the Falcons, I just wanted the Vikings to lose. But Gary Anderson, I can't fathom how bad he felt about blowing it for his entire team. So here's my question to you. Similar to Gary Anderson, things are going amazing, things are going so well. Have you ever had a time where things were going so great and then all of a sudden, boom, you fell flat on your face? Maybe, have you ever felt that way spiritually speaking? You know what's interesting? We actually did an entire video series about that recently. It's called Pause. It's linked up here at the top of the screen if you want to do that. But for everyone else who's going to stay with this video, sometimes you're crushing it, right? Like think about last day of summer camp. Everything is amazing. You feel super holy. Nothing will ever knock you down off of your pedestal. You know how it is. You wake up early to do your devotions out in your backyard. And because you're up so early, this magical, mystical pond just appears through your backyard. And then in prances a doe, and they drink out of the stream, and it's just this beautiful, amazing, holy moment. And then other days you oversleep, you're irritable all day long, and you cuss someone out who steps in front of you in line for lunch. Oops, that was a bad day. Right? Sometimes our spiritual life can be that way. Super high highs, but also super low lows. And maybe sometimes you even feel like you've blown it. We're going to talk about a guy named Joash. Be sure to subscribe because here's why. This is video 2 out of 4 in this 4-part video playlist where we're exploring what to do with the life that you have been given. So I don't want you to miss out on the 3rd installment of this video, but we're talking about Joash. Hit the bell for good measure if you've never heard of Joash, and then even if you have, still hit the bell so that you're notified when video 3 drops. But Joash it's a lot like riding a roller coaster of faith, right? He has some major high points, but he also has some pretty low points. Joash has a crazy grandma. Do you have a crazy grandma? Hit the bell if you do, maybe even if you don't. But comment below, let me know what's the craziest thing your grandma has ever done. And when I was little, my grandma would hike my pants up way past my belly button, and I would have to slide them down to make sure that she didn't see later and take offense. But Joash's grandma, much crazier than high pants grandma in my life. In 2 Chronicles 12, it's chronicled how crazy his grandma is. So when Athaliah, the mother of King Uzziah, which is Joash's dad, of Judah, learned that her son was now dead, she began to destroy the rest of Judah's royal family. But Uzziah's sister Jehosheba, the daughter of King Jehoram, took Uzziah's infant son Joash and stole him away from the rest of the king's children. Remember, because grandma is killing everyone. So she put Joash and his nurse in a bedroom. This way, Jehosheba, wife of Jehoiada, the priest and sister of Uzziah, hid the children that Athaliah could not murder him. Joash remained hidden in the temple of God for 6 years while Athaliah ruled over the land. So Joash, his story comes to us out of the book of 2 Chronicles, and in particular, his part of the story comes in 2 Chronicles 22. So follow along no matter where you're watching. Also be sure to check out the digital notes, which are linked below. If you're watching on a laptop, pull open your phone and follow them along in the YouVersion Bible app. But Joash's father, Uzziah, who is king, dies. And Joash's grandma, Athaliah, wants to kill everyone who stands in her way of taking the throne, including her grandson, Joash. But Joash has this kind of cool, like uncle-like figure in his life named Jehoiada. Jehoiada rescues and hides Joash from the crazy grandma, literally saves his life. I have a cool uncle type guy in my life too. His name is Uncle Al. Comment down below if you have a cool uncle guy in your life and what's his name. But the true hero in Joash's early life is really this guy, Jehoiada. So fast forward to when Joash is now 7 years old. And in 2 Chronicles 24:2, we see that he becomes king. At 7. Dude, when I was 7 years old, I was more concerned about toy guns, Chuck Norris, and not getting invited to birthday parties, not let alone becoming the king of an entire nation. So talk about the pressure that this guy Joash was feeling. Well, continuing on in verse 4, 2 Chronicles 24:4, we see that at one point, Joash decided to repair and restore the temple of the Lord, which is a great thing, right? He restores this temple. It's unclear if this happens when he's 7 and immediately takes over. It's more likely that it happens later because we see it says literally sometime later. But nonetheless, the restoration of the temple is a really big deal and a really good thing in the economy of God, especially in the nation of Israel. Going on in verse 14 of 2 Chronicles 24, we see it says that when all the repairs were finished, they then brought the remaining money to the king and to Jehoiada, the cool uncle guy, and it was used to now make various articles for the temple of the Lord. Articles for worship services and for burnt offerings. It included things like ladles and other articles made of gold and silver. And so now these burnt offerings were sacrificed continually in the temple of the Lord and during the lifetime of Jehoiada, who is the priest. So Joash is king, but Jehoiada is priest, and they're kind of doing this all together. And so we see now through that verse, right, we see that Joash honors the Lord now with these sacrifices. And he did so by cleansing the temple, which was kind of revamped, but now cleansing the temple of impurities. Right? So all of these spiritually sounding things and practical things, they were taking place when cool uncle guy Jehoiada is involved in Joash's life and honestly living as like a surrogate or even adopted dad. Jehoiada was a key older figure, like a parent type mentor in the life of Joash, who provided Joash with important spiritual leadership. But this is the key. I want you to check this part out. Something big is about to happen. And it comes by way of 2 Chronicles 24:15. Jehoiada lived to a very old age, finally dying at 130. First of all, 130, dang, that's old. But second of all, Jehoiada is now gone. And what you'll notice in this king's life, Joash, who was dealt this hand of becoming king at age 7, fleeing from crazy grandma, and having a really cool guy investing in his life, will see a pretty big turning point in Joash's life. Check out what it says in 18 through 24. It says they abandoned the temple of the Lord. This is only 3 verses later after Jehoiada dies. In verse 20, it now says that the kingdom, because they abandoned the temple of the Lord, the kingdom stops prospering. And then in 2 Chronicles 24:22, it says that Joash forgot all about what Jehoiada did for him and kills his cousin now. So Joash, right? The nation of Judah under his reign was prospering. But it wasn't prospering because of Joash. It was prospering because Joash was making wise decisions and being mentored by Jehoiada. And so once that godly leadership was gone and was out of Joash's life, you'll notice that things begin to get a little bit messy. And a lot of times in your life and in mine as well, it's in our faith, I think it's easy to live it out when there's somebody else there helping us do it, giving us guidance, giving us direction, maybe even accountability. Maybe like your family, they go to church, and so you go to church because your family goes to church, right? We like Jesus because our parents like Jesus and his upbringing. But my question that I think is worth grappling for you and for me and all of us is, are you personally a follower of Jesus who has grabbed ownership of your faith? Right? Jesus calls you, me, all of us to individually follow him with our lives. And so we don't follow him because our family followed him. We follow him because we want to follow him. I say this a lot, but God doesn't have grandkids. So just because your parents are following God doesn't automatically make you a follower of God. So this is a gut check question. Are you like Joash? Are you riding on the coattails of your family's faith or maybe even your grandparents' faith? Or are you more like Jehoiada, someone who, despite what's going on around you, despite the crazy in your family, you choose to do what's right no matter what? Because I want you to notice this. Because of Joash's ultimate disobedience after Jehoiada was gone to God, not only did he quit being an effective king in the nation of Judah, but now the entire nation no longer prospered. When it comes to your faith, it's going to require personal ownership. So the challenge I have for you today is decide today what and who your faith is in. Are you like Joash, where it'll work for a while, especially in the safety and under the accountability of other people in your life and maybe on throughout high school, but once you graduate and you're out on your own and you're out from under that protection, are you going to go off on your own direction, or are you going to continue to follow Jesus? Here's the bottom line. When it comes to faith, it's going to require personal ownership. And hey, I want you to check out the next video in this playlist linked right here on the screen, and we'll talk with you next time.